Can't do that one.
Oh.
It's the Intergalactic Soul, the Honorable Brother, the Revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 98 of Powerbombshells. I am Sam, that is Mel. As we promised you on Christmas Eve on Sunday, our gift to you was 2 shows this week because of World's End. We have a brand new AEW pay-per-view and we have to do our wonderful pre show. So you get to see us twice this week. So you're welcome.
You're just, yeah. I mean,
And I will go ahead.
Can you ask for? What else can you ask for at the end of the year?
Yeah, this is true. And I will go ahead and apologize in advance if I sound terrible. If most of you know, I was sick last month. I got sick the day after my birthday and had the flu for about 11 days. So I was sick over Thanksgiving. And then Tuesday, I started out with a dry cough. And by Thursday, it was a full-blown cold. I'm hoping that it doesn't get any worse than that. I don't want to be sick for 11 days again. So hopefully today I feel actually, no matter how I sound, I actually feel better than I have in the last few days. So I'm hoping, I don't know. I haven't talked for a long time, so we'll see how this goes. Hopefully I don't lose my voice. I do have water. You'll probably see me drinking water more often than normal, but just bear with us. But this was a fun show we look forward to. And then there's some other things came up that we'll get to and we'll talk about. But yeah, so we're here and happy Saturday. And yeah.
It's Happy New Year's Eve.
There you go. Yes.
Just like the Christmas thing. I love saying it because I know that it annoys some people. So I go out of my way to really I like gimmicky stuff like that. So I go out of my way to lean into that. So Happy New Year's Eve, everybody.
Happy almost 2024.
Yeah.
And can you believe it? We're just a couple episodes away from 100. Just
100.
Crazy. So we'll probably, because of we'll be back obviously at our regular time next Sunday. And so it was funny because I was listening to Darius and he was like every Sunday, which is typically right. It's usually Sundays, and then in special cases, it is on Saturdays when we have.
I mean, it's good for him to remind everyone because they're going to listen to him, and they know they're here today already, so it'll just remind them for us.
Yes, and so we'll be back next Sunday. We'll probably do some of our best of 2023 stuff. Then just because of the way the scheduling worked out, we'll probably get to it next week. We'll also be post Wrestle Kingdom. So we'll have some, Wrestle Kingdom fallout to discuss. And also, speaking of Wrestle Kingdom, if you have not already, so make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel and then go check out, speaking of Strong Style, they have done like 5 hours of Japanese wrestling content in the last 2 days. Thursday, they had Scott Edwards on, and then yesterday they had Chris Samsa on to preview Wrestle Kingdom. And I had all these plans to watch live both shows. And then my body was like, no, we're taking a nap.
I got through Thursday evening. Thursday,
Thursday I turned on like halfway through. I think I woke up at like 6:30 or something like that. So I turned it on my TV. And so when I watch on my TV, obviously I can't comment. So I did watch that. And then I had planned to watch yesterday's and I slept through all of it. So I will definitely be going back to catch that because I know that they had really good coverage yesterday. So definitely make sure you guys are checking that out.
I had to finally get myself taken care of, and do Scott was on their show. And then yesterday did another 2+ hours. Yes, those two are, I call them the kings of our network today in the Discord. They win. They are the Fight Game Media show of the week.
They're definitely the MVPs for sure. And then Scott Edwards on the other, it has also been making rounds all over the place.
Oh my God.
With it being Wrestle Kingdom and Stardom season, and he's been just everywhere. And so definitely make sure you're checking out Scott Edwards. And I think he actually had a show on the network on our network this week. I believe he had something come out as well. So definitely make sure you're subscribed, because there's all kinds of really good content here.
Subscribe to this very channel that you are watching. It's like right above you. It's like really easy. If you're on like a device or something, you know, it's right up there. You just hit that subscribe button, and it'll be great, because later on tonight we've got the Boom. I believe James and Kevin from the Boom are going to be doing the post World's End live reaction show. I'm really excited because James has a rare Saturday where he's available.
That's very nice. Take advantage of it while you can.
Guys, get in there on that. That is like a fun post. I call them post games.
I'm going to go ahead and follow. I'm sure Pup It Up is going to make a guest appearance or two.
You know what? That's good, because healthy Pup It Up. That's what we love to hear. We're very glad. We'll put all our love to Pup It Up, and James and Kevin. And if you subscribe, then you can see them after. We do the pre show. They do the post show, but it's not the post show.
No, it's not the post show. It's just the post show. But yes,
yeah, it's directly post. Sometimes you get live recaps of the scrums in the chat.
I usually watch. I definitely watch both now. I'm definitely curious to see tonight's scrum as well, for various reasons. And but definitely go make sure you're checking out the Boom, because they are definitely gonna have some good stuff today. And then Daza, I heard about this. Daza said the big news this weekend should be that Stardom has made their pay-per-view free in its entirety on YouTube. The main and semi were awesome as usual. I saw that Scott Edwards tweeted that because there was something happened in the main event with the streaming, and I believe it went out or something. And so Stardom is issuing refunds after the new year, and then they are also putting the pay-per-view in its entirety up for free on YouTube, as Daza says.
That's kind of dope, because I'm back on the Wrestle Universe, so I'm going to watch Noah and TJPW also. So I'm going to... nice. One is on the 2nd, one is on the 6th.
There's a lot going on in the next few days.
But it's that week, so I'm going to watch Noah, I'm going to watch New Japan, and I'm going to watch TJPW. Those are the 3 I've committed to, because I missed watching Noah. I really did. We'll get to this in our of the year thing, but that Muda show on Noah was one of the best, so...
Venkin is confirming that Noah's show is on the 2nd. Thank you for that.
2nd. Yes.
Thank you. I know there's a lot of things happening, and I appreciate how you given us those dates, because I know there's so many shows. And shout out to Lyric, because she's there, and I've been seeing her.
I think she's going to get to see the Noah show, and then she's going to go.
I believe that's I think that was her plan. So I'm really excited to kind of look through her stories and stuff and see the things she's been doing. And so I can't wait till she gets back. I'm sure she'll do some sort of a recap when she gets back. Oh, awesome. Hey, Eddie. Eddie said he's going to an AEW Collision on the 27th of January, his first AEW show. AEW shows are a blast live. I've been to quite a few, not quite a few. I've been to a handful, and they're fun. Hopefully, if I'm feeling better, Collision is going to be here next Saturday. And so they'll be doing, obviously we want to go for Collision, but my sister and I also are big ROH watchers. Part of it obviously is because I do cover it, but I'm hoping that they still haven't really said a whole lot about what's happening with the women's ROH TV title, but I'm hoping some of the matches we get on Saturday are for that. And then I'm of course hoping the workhorsemen are either on Collision or on ROH or both. But so if I'm feeling better, we haven't bought tickets yet, because obviously we did DPW first, and then we were going to Revolution. So we may just we looked, and there's some decent tickets left. Or we may do walk up. So it just depends on, but now Nikki's starting to feel a little sick. So we're going to just play it by ear and find out if we're going or not. And Eddie says he lives in Shreveport, so I'm glad it's coming. I'm glad it is too. Nice. Eddie, I think you'll have a really good time. I think you'll have fun.
We got to see them. We got to do, let me try this one more time. We got to see Collision. We were in Toronto before Forbidden Door 2, so it was a lot of fun, and I was glad that we got to check it out because it is a little different. I've been to 2 Dynamite shows now, and the vibe is a little different, so it's really cool and fun to kind of get the full, because you get, Dynamite and Rampage when you do Dynamite, and then the ROH tapings, which we made most of them, but not all of them, so
yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting because it'll be post pay-per-view, and so you'll see kind of what they're building towards after after World's End and after and what things are starting up. And obviously we're going to be on the road to Revolution at this point, and so it'll be kind of interesting to see what stories build up and then for ROH, there are a few weeks post Final Battle, got that stuff. It appears there are apparently new ROH tag team champions. It may or may not be the Kingdom. I was joking yesterday with some friends. I was like, what if it's gonna be like they had somebody win the match Wednesday, but then actually on tonight it's gonna be revealed and it's like Dolph Ziggler and Shelton Benjamin.
Okay.
I was like, what if that's
Sure, why not?
Yeah, so we were just joking around about possibilities of what it could actually be instead of it being the Kingdom.
Okay, well, all I did the last few days, other than plan my week for the next week, is I hit the salon, and I got my hair chopped off here a little, but I needed to get rid of it because it gets heavy and annoying, and I found a little salon that's literally like right around the corner from my house, and it's local, so it's called Sleek North Salon, so on Main Street in Richmond, Michigan. So check them out if you're in the area. But really nice ladies. It was fun to talk to them because I was, of course, telling them about the brewery, and they're like, "Oh, I go in there once in a while," or one hadn't been there, and I'll always talk those guys up because we've got like our downtown area has a lot of promise going on, and so I'm my stylist had her business kind of go away, and so she had to go back to and she went and picked a salon that worked for her, and unfortunately it's like I don't drive, it's out of my range. Well, now I am like super duper local. Almost everything I can get now, I can get it locally. Good. Like we can do growlers at the beer place, we can do I can go to my salon. There's a little restaurant that has popped up as a result of the, relationships down there. Yeah. It's super duper cool. I'm very excited because it's like, I've read, you know me, I'm an econ nerd. So I've read a bunch about like the economies that survived after the flu pandemic back in the last century. And I'm like, we are following some of those things right now. So I'm like leaning into that anytime I can do it. So now it's like, yay. And oh my God, it was so reasonable.
Good.
Like actually,
that's even better.
I was like, whoa, really?
It's good when it can fit your budget and you can support local. That's always
that's always
I
was shocked actually. I was like, dang, I was like, this is so cool because with the tip it's like under 70, and I did like the full shebang because I like to get, I do it once in a while. It's like every other month or whatever, but it's part of I always say that stuff like that, especially when you're like in the disabled community and stuff like that, stuff is really important because it's really easy to kind of sit around and do nothing.
Right.
But like having your connections to the community, whether it's your hairstylist every couple months or your mug club or the, people over at the library, it's like, this is a good community for me for that. I can have actual human contact.
That's always
good. It's so cool. So I was
good.
Just like,
I'm really glad.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I thought you'd enjoy that story.
I did
because
I'm always about supporting local and
local.
I have hairstylists in my family, and so I always know that it's important to support them. So I definitely get that, and I love that it's somebody you can get to.
I am from Michigan, Eddie. Well, I'm not from Michigan. I live in Michigan. I've lived here for 7 years. My husband is from Michigan, so his family is here, and we ended up back here back in 2015 15. So, yeah. I'm originally from Maine. We both separately, within 10 months of each other, moved to Seattle, met out there, and had 13 years of a life out there. So I'm a wild story.
She is.
I would need a whole other podcast, guys. It's crazy. But that's why I was all to like today. I was like, oh no, we're going against Jim Valley.
Oh no.
Ooh, 1 o'clock. Like, so I'm really sorry that we sucked away all your followers on your totally kidding. Like, what, they have a show?
Yes, Eddie, I did see that TikTok last night. If it's the one
I did see it actually.
the one
I
with all the
weirdly
women.
saw something for a change, Sam.
I
You'd
did
be really
see
proud.
it.
It's aggregating
I'm proud
onto
of
my
you for seeing.
timeline. It's aggregating onto my timeline now. I'm doing
Yay!
it
You
right.
saw it. That's how I saw it was aggregated. It's aggregated onto my timeline too. But I did see it. And I thought there's maybe some questionable things that were put in there in the beginning, but overall, I thought it was really good. I thought they made some really good points. The part with Statlander was like, "I'm on TV and you're not," made me laugh.
I love that. That was very. It made me think of that line in that Imagine Dragons song where it's like, you know, now you're clapping from the nosebleeds kind of thing.
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
Big giant finger to you, bro. Like, but
Right.
they made some good points though about the idea where it's like no one will ever like me because I'm not pretty. And I was like, God, actually, you know, it's you don't think about it, but I was a female athlete and I totally understand and feel that. Like there were a lot of pretty girls on my varsity team and stuff. And it does look like everything is a work in its own way. Everything has its own like work underneath it. So it's I understand that.
I really appreciated some of the stuff that they pointed out in the video because I thought it was really good, and I'm glad that it's getting some traction, and hopefully people will pay attention to some of the things that are being said in there.
Yeah, I want to man, do I want to see I want to play Whack-A-Troll sometimes with some of the people and some of like I think I saw it on Lyrics. I think she retweeted it. I'm not saying X ever, Elon, so.
No, me either. It's Twitter. I don't care.
I mean, I'll put it up here for our guests as X because they need it and they are like in the whatever, but you can.
Yeah, it's still Twitter to us, damn it.
You can, I don't know, get out of here, Elon. I don't know. I'm trying to like not demonetize us. Expletives deleted.
Listen, there might be some expletives that come out today, and if they do,
I think that's why I'm saving it for later.
Yeah, we try to use them. We try to be
judicious
when we use them. Look at us using the same word at the same time, the same big word, like we're Keith Lee over here.
Women don't know big words, do they?
That's what I've heard. I guess we don't.
I mean, we can't. We're not smart or whatever.
We're not. But yeah, so we will probably use those. So those words may come out, and hopefully we don't get demonetized for it.
We'll drop some power F-bombs.
So make sure that and we do have to do the little YouTube spiel where if you like this video, it will help us reach people. And if you leave comments, that helps. And if you want to do super chat, there's that too. If you want to like and subscribe, there's that too. It definitely all helps us. And I know it's annoying to hear that all the time, but it does actually help. And so we do like to remind you. And like Mel said, there will be the boom after World's End tonight. If you are a New Japan fan or a fan of Japanese wrestling, we've got 5 hours of content in the last 2 days. There's the Dynamite show as well. That's live every Wednesday after Dynamite. And so definitely subscribe.
Which was a really good episode this week. Not that they're bad, but they were really like...
Yeah, I saw bits and pieces of it because I was writing. I did go back and listen to the Red Foo story.
That was cute.
That was good. Yeah, and I enjoyed that. That was fun.
It's funny because I'm like, we can't really, usually you and I, it's like the time of day and everything. It's like, what are we drinking? Water, usually. More than like the two of us are like, we're hydrating right now. Okay.
Right. Especially now because I'm sick. So
And
I'm
then you're
hydrating as
not
much as
feeling well.
possible.
And then I wasn't feeling well. I think pretty much everyone I know got some version of the crud. They either got a cold or the flu.
Yeah, I
A
thought I
few-
had hit.
a
I thought I had
few
hit
had
mine
the
when I got it.
COVID.
I thought I had it last month when I got I thought that was my. I thought I'd hit my maximum, but apparently not. So
Well, it's it's because the weather's been stupid.
it has
It's been, you can't like have 60-degree days and then 20-degree days. That's Fahrenheit.
Yeah, and then it doesn't help because I'm outside with Miley
Right.
and
It's
things like
just
that.
not, the human body's not
And
like,
then we had to Christmas shop late
Yep.
because I had to wait until funds came in, and then I had to deal with my car battery, and then this week I had to have a lot done to my car. It ended up being more than I ended up having more things fixed than I had originally planned, which was always fun. So hopefully
we
in
kinda went
2024, hopefully is kinder to both my car and to my bank account.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. You need to do this, like, I don't know. I got my flu shot the last 2 years, and I'm very grateful because I feel like I would have been a lot worse off if I hadn't. I feel like
have
they were
not gotten my
working.
flu shot this year. I should have got it after I was waiting for Nikki, and we were gonna go together. She was waiting on insurance stuff to like switch over, and then I was like, I should have just went ahead and gone because now I'm sick and now Nikki might have it. And so her throat was starting to bother her today. So I was like, please go. I've heard of it, but I'd never bought that throat coat tea until this year. And that I took that Tuesday, or I drank that Tuesday. Oh my God, it helped immediately. And then I had some last night. So I told her before we came on air, I was like, go drink that now. I was like, go ahead and start taking it now.
That is an
She's been drinking like some emergency and stuff too, but I was like, yeah.
Because when you got to late October and you were playing soccer, you would get the crud sometimes, but still kind of have to play through it. So you'd get a mild crud, and that was everybody's immediate go-to. Like, we had a store downtown, and it was like, we're clean out, guys. You're all on the same team. What do you want me to say? Like, all right, everybody share.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Not like from the same thing, but everybody.
Right. Yeah.
Dole out their
throat own packet. Yes.
Oh, that stuff is it's amazing that they've been able to keep that up too, because so many things go away and or start to suck, or
right.
And I mean, I can't do too many other medications because of my situation, and I can't mix stuff with my other medicine, and I can't like add things to my neurological situation. So it's like, I gotta do the natural thing. We run a humidifier in here all the days that it's necessary, and we do everything possible. And since we both become immune compromised, and he works with the public, we were both, the last 2 years we've done the flu shot, and I swear I've dodged bullets.
Good.
Where I was like, I didn't feel good, but I also felt like this is my flu shot working. You know what I mean? Like, this could be so much worse if I hadn't had my flu shot, is how I felt both years. Because I mean, I was right on the verge, and then I started to kind of pull everything back in. And but I mean, F this weather, because I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Where's this? Can I just have snow? Can I just have my normal? It needs to snow and be normal and not be wet, because the dogs get muddy and I hate it. So.
Yes, it's no fun.
Hey, I wanted to real quick, condolences to the family of one of my favorite little side Japanese wrestlers. Killer Khan passed away.
I saw that this morning.
And I've kind of like gotten to know him a little, his history. But one of the like gems of my like getting into wrestling nerdery was the year that Jim and Fumi went to Killer Khan's restaurant, which is closed. And it was before it got bad for Jim again. So it was one of these like really happy times. It was the last Wrestle Kingdom he got to go to for a while. He was probably 18, I want to say 18 or 19, but so they went to the restaurant, and Fumi's birthday is on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, I think it is.
Okay.
So they went to the restaurant, and Killer Khan ended up singing to them, and Jim
How
got it,
awesome.
like, he did a little Pacific Rim in there, like a little impromptu thingy, and caught it on audio and was able to share it with all of us. And
That's
I
so
was
cool.
like, I'm just so glad that they were able to have that moment and everything. And I've been thinking a lot about them, and I know Fumi knew him fairly well, and he was the kind of person who loved to talk wrestling with you. He was just still to the very end was a giant wrestling nerd, just like the rest of us, and was happy to talk to you about it, which as many people as there are willing to talk about it around here, I find that some of the people that should be willing to talk about it are less willing, where it's like someone like John Muse or Jim Valley are very cool about you picking their brain about stuff, but maybe some other louder voices. I mean, I don't find Dave very open to, like, I mean, he's obviously too busy, but I mean, he's not someone that I would be like, oh yeah. But so, I mean, but whatever, regardless.
Yeah.
Take a shot at him. But the point is that, like, condolences and, like, rest in power, big man, because what an amazing life and career, and look him up.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with him, but I saw some people talking about him this morning. And Dazzle said the first match he ever saw that had heavy blood was Killer Khan versus Terry Gordy in World Class, and I honestly never thought people could bleed that much.
That's probably why I have any familiarity. It's because John introduced me to all the, like, death matches and shoot style and stuff, and I got into it weirdly, and, like, it's one of those things where you never think you're going to get into it, but then you really do enjoy it. And it's like, there's all these different styles of pro wrestling. So I did actually kind of have an idea of who he was. But I want to, like, have, I mean, I will, Dave's bio on him is something that will be really excellent to read.
Oh, I can imagine.
That'll be something worth, like, going for and, like, getting your hands on, because it's like, that guy was, I mean, there's a lot of pioneers out there, you know?
Yeah, right.
And I love that, like, all the old Japanese wrestlers retire and do like that. They open, like, toy shops or restaurants.
Yeah.
It's just so they can hang out with people.
Yeah.
But he, like, sang to them that night and everything. It was adorable.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
Rest in power, sir.
Yes, definitely.
Fine. But yeah, cool.
All right.
I just want to put that in there.
Before we get into why we're here, which is the pre-show, and we're going to run down the matches, we are going to talk about the news that came out last night, this morning. So for those of you who are not familiar with what's going on, there have been some accusations against Chris Jericho. There was some rumors about an NDA being involved. There was some. It appears to be related to Kylie Ray, who, if you remember, was with AEW at the very early stages, and then she abruptly left. There was never really any information given. There, of course, were rumors abound about why she left. I had heard that it was related to Chris Jericho, but I'd never heard any details. I've also heard this. I have heard rumors about Jericho for the past few years. Nothing substantial. Nothing like just that his name was mentioned in some things prior to speaking out. People thought that during speaking out, hopefully women would come forward about their situations with him. Apparently, that didn't come to pass. And so it came out this morning that we don't know for sure if this is the exact situation. So we do have to speak in terms broadly, and we have to use the term allegedly, because that's just how these things work. But it is alleged that Jericho brought Kylie Ray into a room where she thought other wrestlers were going to be there. And it turns out it was just her. And then she was allegedly propositioned, made her uncomfortable. This is supposedly why she left. May or may not be where the NDA comes in. There's a lot of stuff still coming out, as we know. So we did want to address it. And I do want to say, regardless, we need to keep the survivors in the forefront. It's easy to get your jokes off. It's easy to drag people. But the victim, or the survivor rather, I try not to use the word victim in these situations. The survivor should always be at the forefront. Do not forget what happened to them. Do not forget that they are people. They had something traumatizing happen to them. Now everybody is going to know about that trauma. They're going to have to relive this trauma. Then you're going to have people who, regardless of if it's Jericho, or we've seen it happen with Vince McMahon, we saw it happen a lot during Speaking Out and Me Too. People will question them. They will demand evidence. They will belittle them. They will tear them down. They will praise the abuser. And so just be mindful of the things that are happening and the things that you say, the things that you tweet. I know there was that thing going around, that's come around before, as, so-and-so won't see this, but your followers will. So just be mindful of the fact that sometimes you may get off a joke and think it's funny, but there are probably victims who follow you, who will see that kind of stuff, and just kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, the main thing is, we support survivors always, no matter who the abuser is. It's the most important thing is always the survivor. And I just want to make that abundantly clear. As somebody who has done a lot of coverage of Speaking Out the last few years, it is important. It's easy to lose track of. It's easy to kind of focus on the abuser themselves, and then the victims or the survivors get pushed to the side and they are not remembered. And I just hope that survivors, regardless, if there are rumors that there are more than one. I don't know if that is the case. If that is, regardless, I hope the survivors are getting the help that they need. I hope that they feel seen. I hope they feel heard, and I hope that they feel loved, and that they have a strong support system in place.
Now, I have a question for you, because I backtracked to a degree and have some knowledge of this, but I need to, did Kylie Ray say anything? Was this coming from her?
The only thing that I have seen so far is that she replied. There was a tweet earlier today that had some of the information regarding the situation with Jericho. She replied with a heart emoji. We don't know if this is confirmation, acknowledgement. Could possibly be because there's an NDA in place and she can't say anything. So I don't know the specifics regarding that. So she has somewhat acknowledged it, but we don't know in what sense she is acknowledging it. The information came out because Nick Hausman decided
that part I got.
Yes, Nick Hausman went out and made some references, made some comparisons to Harvey Weinstein.
Some pretty unsubstantiated,
we don't know that
whether you believe, but he did throw it out there as a cold rumor that was.
It was more of my biggest issue with this is it was more of a we know what you did, and not of we hope the victims get justice. This is more of a you're a terrible person. This was more of a. It wasn't. Yeah, I don't like the way that this one was not. It was never there. It's not about the victim. The survivors getting justice.
It was not what. Yes, exactly. It was not put out there with the intent of justice being served in any way. It was done 100% for clickbait. And
right. It was done, and it was also done to I know about you. I know things you've done, and I'm gonna. And so,
to me, if Kylie Ray is getting unwittingly pulled into a situation where she's being made the centerpiece of Nick Hausman's alleged understanding of backstage behaviors by Chris Jericho, that's really effed up, because you've just that's trauma. That's her trauma.
It is.
Right. If you reached out there and went and you pulled this poor person in here without their knowledge or their consent, and you are re-triggering them. There's absolutely no way that, and if that's
100%.
the case, and people brought her into this for their own
Which is how it
what,
appears.
because right now there's no concrete sourced information that that's what went on. There's some denials from what I can tell from the media scrum yesterday or whatever all else was going on, because I don't know when this all started.
No,
I believe her if
scrum.
I believe her if she's going to say that. But if people pulled her into this without her knowledge or consent,
it appears to be that is the case.
that's more effed up.
It is, and I also
you
want to
just
point out,
like, it's hard enough to walk down the street without getting triggered when you have trauma.
right,
Without somebody like using your trauma for their benefit, which makes, if that's what Nick Hausman did, you're trash. Fuck you. There was one of those.
No, it appears that that's the case, and I do want to say another point I want to make about Kylie that's being brought into this and this coming out with Kylie, whether it's true or not, or whether whatever the details are. Kylie is also, she's 3 months postpartum. She is openly a recovering alcoholic. So she is dealing with those things on top of this information coming out. So there's a lot of layers to this. And I hope, regardless of what has come out, and I hope that Kylie's support system is in place. I hope Kylie is getting whatever help that she needs. Even if, just regardless, my heart goes out to Kylie, and I hope that, people will be more delicate with these situations. And it does very much feel like, the victim was secondary, or I'm sorry, the survivor was secondary. They only cared about getting the information out there, or not even getting the information out there.
It was just a clean shot at Jericho.
It's more like it's a gotcha situation where they just did not care about. And supposedly there's more than one person. So then that makes you kind of think, well, if there are more women, do they even want to come forward because of how this was handled? Like, why would you, after this person?
And it should be on their terms.
Right. 100%.
And it needs to be addressed. Like, if that's the truth. But I mean, we can't, you can't drag women into these situations when it's convenient for you and ignore it the rest of the time. That is, and my first reaction when I started seeing this was, Jesus, I hope that they did not start re-traumatizing this poor person who, I mean, and that's real. That is, I'm sorry, that is real. That is something that people deal with every day. It can be debilitating, and it's really unfair.
It is. It's 100% unfair.
So if that's the case,
if she's being blindsided by this information, if she's blindsided by this information getting out, then that,
because the court of public opinion, we know what it is, and we know how.
Well, and we saw it during speaking. We saw it during speaking out.
You see it during anything that's like this.
And it's regardless of if this is a person who's been in the wrestling industry has basically been in your living room for 4 decades, or it's the person who runs the grocery store down the street. Like, the survivors are they're being traumatized by this information getting out. And it's just, of course, you want these people out of the business. You don't want them to be in a position where they can harm anyone else, or where they can use their position of power to do these, to harm women, to be a sex pest, to do whatever, to use their power for sexual favors, or whatever the situation may be. And I've lost my train of thought of where I was going with that, but it's just, of course you want them out of the business, but you cannot, but that can't override the survivor. Like, the survivor should have a say in, if they're coming forward with their story, they should not be outed in order to make your, especially in a case where, like Vinkin says, it feels like it's for Twitter points, and it feels
absolutely
like it's
does.
to win an online fight. And so that's just really gross. And it's
well, because
I don't think that he has any shame, but he should be ashamed of himself.
I don't think he has any shame. That guy is.
Daza says, I'm pretty saddened by some comments I've seen tonight with fans seemingly more concerned with how it will spoil their enjoyment of wrestling than may have happened to a young woman. And that's been speaking out in general, unfortunately, Daza.
Well, that's ladies in workspaces and talent spaces. Unfortunately, we still aren't coming to terms with that reality.
Right. And Daza says, let's face it, the support for women who came forward and speaking out was lacking for many quarters. And Daza, you're 100% right. It doesn't feel like we learned very much during speaking out, because we're doing the same things, we're rehashing the same things as far as people are.
Well, if he's doing that, knowing she has an NDA that she can't talk about something, or
we don't know for sure if the NDA involves her,
or beyond that. Well, this is their boss. Also, like in another, like, let's think about this just from a purely business perspective. This is Chris Jericho. He's one of the most famous wrestlers in the history of wrestling. He's their boss. He has Tony's ear. He's one of the founders of the company.
He has backstage. I don't remember what his exact
title
is, but he does stuff backstage, and he again, it's very similar to. And you have to also remember with Jericho, he's also a rock star. On top of that,
I mean, I've read his books. I
have too.
Believe me, I know what those worlds are like. I've read his books. I understand what comes with the things that he does talk about in his books. I understand that he has an image to uphold, and so you're not going to talk about a lot of the things that aren't going to, especially the more recent books. You're going to leave any of that stuff that would go on backstage or in the annals of the grossness of the business. Right. But you can't use somebody for clout points if you want to make a discernible change, or if you want to out Chris Jericho, go do some digging, go do some muckraking, go do some real journalism, which you have no idea how to do because of what you are, because of where this all originated. I desperately hope Kylie Rae had some agency in this situation, because that's probably what's grinding my gears the most, to put it as nicely as possible.
It's taking away it could be taking it right, because the way it came out, it appears that it did take away her agency, and that she had no say, and that she was used as a prop and not as a getting justice for what happened.
That's worse, because that it not only shows that you haven't, speaking out meant fucking nothing.
No, I mean, in a lot of cases it has meant nothing, because there are people still employed by major companies. There are people. Vince McMahon is still around. He's still he worked.
No, the culture is the culture.
And
still,
sure, there's in some levels you see, like, there's in indie wrestling, some of these people have been kept out, but in some places they're working their way back in. You see, MLW just signed Matt Riddle. There's,
that, and I was like, well, at least it's not AEW. Was kind of how I felt.
But they've got. But then there's the stuff we talked about when they signed Ric Flair. You have Tony going on Twitter, saying all these things about Vince, and then 2 weeks later he turns around and he signs Ric Flair.
And that's the other thing too, is that we already know that there was something of a toxic backstage situation, because we know that a sex pest is wandering the backstage area. No matter how you slice it, that guy's there. You can't, you can separate people, and you can have women's locker rooms and men's locker rooms, and you're built, but you're working at a complex. I've worked on.
You're working for a company that is still employing a sex pest, regardless.
I've worked at big enough places where we've been separated, and you run across people plenty. It's
well, and even if not, they're on TV. So if you're
in the message,
if you're in the locker room and you're watching on a monitor, and then here comes the sex pest on TV while you're watching on the monitor from your locker room. We've talked about it before. Like, what kind of work environment are these women working in when they have a Ric Flair working in their locker room, or other people, like you could even say in WWE, there's people who are named and speaking out who are still on TV on a regular basis, and those women are exposed to these predators. So it's just very gross and unfortunate, and I hope that regardless of what is happening, that Kylie is healthy and that she is okay and is getting the support and the help that she needs in her real life, not necessarily on. I mean, of course, it was great on Twitter that she sees an outpouring of support. However, I think in her real life, obviously, that's more important, and that she's getting. And if there are other women who are seeing this and are being, whether it's Jericho or anybody, but if this is making them relive their own trauma, whether it was by a famous person or their boss or someone that, in whoever it is, I hope that they are getting the support that they need as well, because this is a triggering thing for so many people on so many levels, that you could be scrolling and saying on Twitter and seeing this happen to somebody else, and it could be triggering trauma for someone else. And so that's another thing to keep in mind with social media, is seeing these things can trigger other survivors, and it can bring up a lot of things for them as well.
Yeah. I have nothing more to add to
and I don't know, real quick before we get onto this, I assume the match still happens tonight.
Oh yeah, come on.
I doubt they're going to pull it, especially if this was technically taken care of at the time.
One of our, who was it that said, I can't wait for the scrum? Was it Vinkin? I don't know that anyone's going to ask about it, to be perfectly honest. I would love for someone to be a real journalist and ask him about what's going on with that.
I would like for it to. I would like for that to happen.
But the realist in me, who's been watching like White House press briefings since I was like 15, knows that they're going to ask the softball questions that they always pretty much ask, so that they don't get uninvited from the media.
Well, either that, or if they do ask, which I would ask regardless of knowing they're going to get. They're probably going to get an answer of it's legal and I can't comment. It's going
to be the Tony Dancer.
Well, it's always that, but I feel like
that's what I'm going to call it from now on, the Tony Dancer answer.
I feel like it'll probably just be like and it could be, because if there is an NDA in place because of this specific situation, then they can't say anything.
He's absolutely 100% going to say I can't speak on things that are legal issue, that involve legal company
and they're not. I don't think they would have had Jericho out there regardless, because they're not going to make him available. But I don't think he would have been there anyway.
He's already smacked John Hughes in the face with a water bottle this year.
They could cancel this match, because this match doesn't mean anything. It's only happening because Kenny Omega is out indefinitely. This match doesn't need to happen. It doesn't need to, and it shouldn't have been on the main card to begin with. It should have, if they were gonna do this, it should have been on the pre-show. It's just, this match is unimportant. It does not mean anything. It's not going to affect. It's just a random 8-man, because they have nothing.
My snack match.
So, so yeah, so I won't be surprised because people are saying, well, is the match going to happen? I assume that it will.
It will.
I'm
until you said that, how about this? This is how bad it is. Until you said that, I hadn't even considered that it would be canceled.
Yeah, I've seen people ask. They were like, well, does he get pulled from the pay-per-view? I'm guessing no. I have a feeling, but again, this match means nothing. It could be
people
pulled.
That watch regularly aren't like us.
They
should
know
this.
No, they could. Yeah, they don't know this information.
They don't live on Twitter like we do.
I personally, first of all, I think they should have just treated it like they do the ROH tag titles and just not do a tag team title match tonight. But or put this on the pre-show and move Chris and Willow to the main card.
Ooh, I'm with that.
But yeah, so that's what of course we just wanted to address that, and I mean, we'll see how
Some of
things
it.
play out, but the
My
the
heart
main,
goes out to
yeah, let's see.
Kylie Ray. I just hope that the first person I thought of was her, because
Yeah,
it's
the
not
main.
cool. That's not cool, man. That's
Mm-mm.
just not
No,
cool.
I hope that Kylie is. I just hope, and any other survivors out there, that this is making them. I just hope that they are supported and that they are loved, and that is the most important thing in all of this, and that they're getting the help they need. And so, with that, we will move on to the card.
Yeah, the card. I think I have. Oh, I should probably. Here, let me do the backstage stuff here real quick here, guys.
Okay.
So I think I have most of it. I think I even found the one I told you I didn't have. So
Okay.
we'll find out.
All
Let's
right.
find out if Mel's slideshow is working. Where are you? I kept messing it up and calling it Worlds Collide, and I kept getting that
It's
song
because of the
stuck in my head.
NXT thing as Worlds Collide, because I did it when it first got announced. I kept calling it Worlds Collide, and somebody else was like, "That's the NXT thing," and I was like, "You are correct. It's
I
Worlds
was
End."
laughing at myself because I kept getting the stupid song stuck in my head. So it was like, wait, don't you be a douchebag thing. Hang on, let me do this real quick. I think
So it
I've got
appears
this in.
that we're going to have 3 matches on 0 Hour, which they
I
kind
pulled
of.
this off of Bleacher Report, so I don't know if
Okay.
that's it. And then I think I've got these hooked up the same way. So I'm
Okay.
going to pop
Well,
this
we'll
up
find out.
here.
We're just going to pop a match up and talk about it.
Here
All
it
right.
is.
So we do have, this is a 0 Hour match that was just made this week. Hook and Wheeler Yuta will be. It's actually Hook is putting his FTW championship on the line under FTW rules. So Wheeler Yuta's ROH Pure Championship is not on the line here. It is actually Hook's FTW title, which wanted to make sure that was clear, because they have been kind of going back and forth. Wheeler Yuta beat Shibata for the Pure title on Rampage a few weeks ago. He started beating up Shibata afterwards. Hook came in and made the save. So then Hook and Yuta have been kind of sniping at each other and going back and forth with each other over the last few weeks. And then so this is somebody asked what the FTW rules are, and that is a good question because I can't remember off the top of my head. Let's find out. Let me see if I can find this out.
I have absolutely no idea.
I can't remember. I've seen them.
I was like,
I've
well, it's
seen
gotta
them.
be hardcore because it was an ECW thing and it was Taz's belt, so it has to be like,
yeah, I
probably
think it's
no DQs or something like that.
I think it's that type of stuff.
Would be my guess.
Yeah, I don't. Let me see. This article may or may not have information.
All right, that's cool.
I don't know what the exact rules are. Of course, they'll
Ask the
explain
algorithm.
Okay. Yes, this is just what to expect. Okay, let's see.
I'm doing some actually I should shuffle through my notes like Dave does on his show while you're doing that.
Okay, so Yuta says, according to this interview, FTW rules match, no DQ. We'll be able to really fight around the building. We'll be able to really settle this finally once and for all. We've been at each other's throats for months and months, and it'll be fun to fight with no constraints. So there's your answer.
So that makes it sound like a hardcore or a no DQ match or whatever.
Yeah. Yes, pretty much. Daza, the reason they're on the pre-show is because we can't have 3 women's matches on the main card.
Yeah, seriously. Daza, you've been here the whole time. You know why. You're a smart person. We know that you know. As we all know, Daza was being cute and witty and rhetorical when he asked that question because he knows full well that we can't have 3 women's matches on a pay-per-view.
Not on the main card. But yeah, so with this time, I assume
on the main
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
pay-per-view.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off there. No. But yes, obviously Hook retains. I would imagine. Maybe we see Wheeler 2 belts, but I assume Hook retains here.
I don't think so. I think this is meant to put This is like Hook's match. This is like it's meant to just be fun and give the people what they want and not be like
and
overly.
He's from Hook is from New York, so
that's right. Of course. What am I? Yeah, it's not.
So
exactly,
it's also to get him. It's to get him on the card. So then there's also this because
this was literally the only picture I could find. So
that's
this
all
is what
I
you
could
get,
find
folks.
too. I don't know that they have said who was in this 20-man battle royale. It's for a TNT title shot anytime, anywhere. Which is interesting, especially if Christian ends up retaining, which we'll get to that match later in the card. But yeah, so I have no idea who is in this match. I am curious if this is how they bring. There's been rumors that Dolph Ziggler is coming in.
Could Dolph? I've heard those rumors too.
Wonder if could they bring Dolph here and have him be the one who wins to get a future title shot, or is this because there's been rumors that they were bringing him in with CJ Perry because of their past relationship in WWE. There's been that rumor as well. So I'm curious if maybe this is where Dolph Ziggler actually debuts. Actually, I guess he would be Nick Nemeth because Dolph Ziggler is, I believe, trademarked by the other company, and so I believe it would be Nick Nemeth. But so I'm kind of wondering if this is where he debuts, or perhaps somebody who was released and their 90 days are up. It doesn't appear that it's going to be Mustafa because Mustafa seems quite busy with his world tour.
I like that better anyway. I
maybe
think do that.
Maybe Shelton Benjamin comes here. MXM, which is Mason Maddox and Mansoor, they appear to be pretty busy doing their indie stuff as well. I don't really expect them to be here. I mean, there's always Riddick Moss and things like that. Perhaps somebody comes back from injury. There's always that possibility. Or perhaps it's none of the above and they're just trying to get people on the card.
Yeah.
So that will be very interesting. Let's see. Daza said, will this be a cashing in shot before the show ends? I guess with that, for the anytime, anywhere is possible.
Oh, yeah. So, you know what? That's a great point.
It could be. I don't necessarily see that being the case just because the focus is going to be the revelation of the devil and things like that. Unless this has something to do with the revelation of the devil, which is possible because we've seen them do that before. When the devil originally came, he was in the, it was the ladder match, right? And the devil won the match and came in at the end of the show and was revealed obviously to be MJF. So in this case, perhaps one of the devil's henchmen wins the match and then at the end reveals who they are and goes after Christian. That's certainly possible, especially if Jack Perry is involved. There could be that. Jack Perry and Christian obviously have a long history. He's been so there's definitely some possibilities there. It could be fun. So maybe this isn't a throwaway match that it appears to be. And because of the stipulation for a title shot anytime, anywhere, does potentially seem like it could be tonight, but it could also be Revolution. Or they do not Bash at the Beach, but their version of Bash at the Beach is forget what beach black, whatever they call it. That's like later in January. They always do. Then there's like
always in a place close to me, like Minnesota, where it's like
it's always some random place
here where like we took our my sister to the beach and it's like 30 degrees.
Right. So it could be something like that.
This would be a good place. Bring Jack Perry back, I feel like, just because they're gonna do it and maybe give him the chance at a TNT title shot because he's been in the picture before and he has beat with some of those guys.
And you could also had Sammy.
I would much rather have that be the case than have him be the devil, which I know that I don't think he is either, but there are people out there who put it out there. And
I think
this would be a place to bring him back.
I think it's possible he's been in henchman, but I think a lot of that is a red herring. I don't think that he is. But yes, I agree that this could be a good place to bring him back. And Venkin says the stipulation for the TNT title is very good for Adam. Yes, I would agree with that.
Agree.
And we'll get to that match, but yes, and we'll circle back to what Venkin is talking about. But yes, so this match could actually be a lot more. It feels like when it was first announced, it felt very much like
Thrown together.
Yes, but I think that stipulation definitely seems to add more to the possibility that it actually means something, and it's not just trying to get people on the card. Oh, and before we get to this match, I don't think we have. There wasn't a graphic when we were doing these for Statlander versus Willow, because the match was not added until last night. I kept checking for a graphic last night.
I really don't have one. That sucks.
And so there was a graphic like right before we went on air, but there wasn't enough time to grab.
I'm really sorry, guys. That's unfair to them on so many levels.
Yeah, so this match should have been added a long time ago because they're both from Long Island. They have had a story, but the story has not been with each other. The story has been Chris having the title and Willow helping her whenever people were trying to, attack her and things like that. They have teamed up quite a few times against Diamante and Mercedes Martinez. That should have been the match. It should have been a tag. I know they just had the street fight, but they should have had another tag team match. I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know why Stokely is getting involved. Stokely is the ROH board. He's an ROH board of director on TV. And he's involved down there. He's always harassing Eddie Kingston and stuff like that. I don't it seems like maybe they're testing him out for some sort of role like that on AEW television, which I don't have an issue with. I just don't know where they're going with Chris and why they seem to implicate a heel turn, because Willow, we've talked about it before, like Willow is good enough that I think she could pull off being a heel, but it's so unnatural, just so like
stupid.
Johnny Gargano is a natural babyface, and he tried his best to be a heel, and it just didn't work.
Nobody wanted it.
Johnny is so likable, and so I feel like this is the same situation with Willow. Like, she's good enough, like she'll do what she has to do, but it's not going to work. They could have Statlander go heel, but I don't think they should. And and Hassan says the same thing, that he thinks Statlander might turn heel, which I don't really like. Yeah, I don't like that.
Well, that doesn't make sense after the way that they this. I keep saying this, but I'm gonna say it again. The way that they hammered her through to make sure that she got that TNT belt or that TBS belt. They can't turning her heel. I don't get it. You have Chris Statlander and Willow, and they could be hanging out together, and they could be baby facing it up, and they could be fighting everybody, and they could have remember when Bayley was a hugger? What level she was on? Like, people loved Bayley as a hugger.
I love Hill Bayley. I think she's a.
I don't mind Hill Bayley either, but I think
I've always been a fan of hers.
I think these two would fit better with like a. Statlander could. I feel Statlander could be more of a heel. I buy Statlander going heel easier than I buy Willow going heel. How about that?
Yeah, I would. I would agree.
I'm not saying that she isn't talented enough to do it. Of course she is, but it's still not gonna feel right. And
it feels very weird that they're doing them versus each other here. And I guess they're kind of doing. It feels like I think Diamante and Mercedes are going to be in the ROH TV title tournament stuff. And so maybe they're kind of pulling them away from AEW television. And perhaps that's why they are focusing on Willow and Stat. It just feels very... It just feels like they almost forgot that they're both from New York and should put them on this show. But we'll see how it plays out. Maybe there's more to it that we don't see yet. So far I am not feeling the fact that they're fighting each other, but I'm glad they're on the card because
it'll be a good match. They'll do yes. They'll do as well.
And then I guess it depends on who. I was gonna say who wins this. I guess if Stat turns heel, then maybe Stat wins, or
maybe.
But Willow could.
she's got to retain right now. I feel like
I mean,
needs
she
to
does.
belt for
Nobody
a
has
little
like
longer.
no. Nobody has the title in this match.
Oh, that's right. Yep,
Nobody has
right.
it. So no, this is just that's another reason I don't understand why they're against each other. There's no title on the line.
Yeah, you're right. What am I talking about? I'm on crack over here.
So yeah,
Julia Hart has the TBS championship.
She does. Yeah, so we'll see how. I'm glad they have a match in their hometown.
Yes, but I mean they'll have fun. It'll be good.
And they should move it to the main card, but I don't think that's going to happen because we can't have because there are people in the not just Tony, but there are other people.
That's
with
too much magic on the main card. Jesus
Christ. There's people in that company who besides Tony who don't think women can draw and are pushing. They won't allow 3 women's matches to be on the main card. I'll just say that.
Isn't that true?
So on to the main card.
Let's do this one.
So on to the main card, which will start at 8 p.m. We have finally this long-running story of Swerve versus Keith Lee. This has been an ongoing thing since even before they were tag team partners, because they kind of, they were doing some singles stuff and they got brought together as Swerve and Our Glory, had a nice tag team run. Then they dropped the titles to the Acclaimed, and then they've kind of been kept separated for the most part. They've had some things here and there. Keith Lee's been more recently has been doing some stuff with Shane Taylor because they have a long friendship. They used to be tag team partners where they were in ROH together. So they've both, and then obviously Swerve's been doing his stuff with Hangman. He was in the Continental Classic, so they've kind of been kept away. But I missed the media call this week because I got the time. I had something going on Thursday, and I looked at the times wrong and thought it was going to be during when I had something to do, and so I missed the call. But I did see something about the fact that Tony did say that they were kept apart on purpose. They've always been planning to run this back and to give them, I guess, kind of like their final story or their rubber match or whatever. That they've both grown organically, especially Swerve obviously has gotten very over organically, and he's a big fan of both Swerve and Keith Lee, and so he wanted to give them this moment, and so that's where this one is. I think this will be a really good match. There's a lot of bad blood between the two of them, and both of them are both very beloved by fans. So I think this will be a really good one.
I'm excited for this. So I mean,
do you have any predictions of who wins?
I kind of think Swerve needs to win this one because he's on a run, and I mean, I think that they wrestle really well together, and that can help Keith Lee. But I think that the clear hot person in this match right now is Swerve. And
yes, and I assume that Mogul Embassy will be out there because it's obviously Continental Classic's over. You don't unless
no outside interference.
Yeah, I was gonna say unless they add a stipulation that says there's no outside interference or that they're banned from ringside. I assume Prince Nana or somebody from the Mogul Embassy will get involved here. Yeah. But I still think it's going to be a great match regardless.
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, it's been a while since they've wrestled each other, and this is a big stage, so because they know each other really well. All right,
yes.
All right, next one. Let's see if I get this one right.
All right, so we have the first of 2 women's title matches tonight on World's End. We have Julia Hart defending her TBS championship against Abaddon. I do see that this graphic does not say anything about house rules, so I assume they are not going to do this under a house rules match. They had done Julia's first few matches or title defenses came under house rules, where the opponent got to pick the stipulation, but that doesn't appear to be the case here unless they add it in prior to the match. But according to the graphic, it doesn't look like it. I am looking forward to this match it's clear that Julia is going to win. There's no question about that. I'm just glad to see, we've talked about it before, I'm glad to see different people getting title shots. And that's the main thing that I am, that's what I'm most pleased about. And I'm pleased that they are not using Abaddon only at Halloween. I'm glad that that, Abaddon is being used more often and that they are utilizing other people in the women's division. So I'm glad to see that.
They've actually built a story here with this a little
Right.
bit. So it's not like some like random pairing. It actually has been going on for a bit. So it feels like a real match with Abaddon. And I like just where they've been going with their gimmick and where the two of them could have a lot of fun. I still think we've talked about it. Bob and I have talked about them having a faction, which we just thought would be the coolest, funnest thing ever. But I'm glad this is on the main card, right?
It is on the main card.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, this is awesome because it's giving Abaddon a pay-per-view match.
Yes, which is huge, and
Awesome.
I'm so glad to see other, like we've talked about, because it seemed for
Different
a while it was the same people in the women's division getting title matches or getting on pay-per-views, or they would do just the random 4-ways or four person match to get 4 women on, so they can be like, oh, here's your 4 women on the card, instead of doing actual matches.
Yeah.
So Venkin says, I think Sky Blue is going to help Julia, most likely.
Probably.
Definitely. I think you're right about that, Venkin. But I'm just very glad to see new people in the women's division get,
I'm glad that they're branching out, putting more people on the main show.
Yeah.
Not the same. I think that Tony confirmed in that scrum that Britt Baker was actually hurt, is what I read on the Observer real quick.
She's been hurt for a very long time, and probably, from what I have heard, probably needs surgery. But
sounds like back surgery, ironically.
She does. Her back is from what I have heard, her back is very messed up. But she kind of also took time off because Adam Cole was still, healing from surgery, so she's been taking care of him. I don't know. She should have surgery, but who knows, how that's gonna work out.
It's a lot. Bob, the only reason I say Bob has had back surgery, so I mean, none of them are easy, and
right.
They all come with all kinds of PT around them. Well, what am I telling you for?
Yeah, no, I understand. I got it.
You have super XP on this one. Personally, but the experience is around it.
Yes.
All right. What's the next one? The next one is that one.
All right. This match is Andrade El Idolo versus Miro. No stipulation here. This match.
Big man beat big man.
Yeah, I guess kind of, yeah. And Miro, it's funny because Miro was like, people think I want to wrestle Andrade because he's my wife's client, but I just want to beat him because he's an asshole. That's what he said in his promo. Which I thought was funny.
That's fair.
That's a reason to want to beat somebody up.
A much better reason. I mean, the wife thing is so like overdone and cliche.
Yeah. So this is where I wondered originally if this is where Nick Nemeth would come in. This is before the 20-man battle royal was announced. I kind of wondered if maybe this was, but the match will be fine. I hope it's an earlier match on the card. Hassan says Andrade versus Miro might be the least interesting match for me tonight. Yeah, it'll be good. Andrade's had some really great matches in the Continental Classic. Miro, I enjoy. I like him. I'm not super invested. I do feel like this is one of those things where, like Willow and Chris had a more substantial story, and they should have gotten this spot, and this should have been on the pre-show, but I don't think either of those men would have been very happy with that because of who they are, but yeah, somebody, and Laurent also said that this should have been on the pre-show. So yeah, it'll be a fine match.
It'll be fine.
I think Miro wins.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I think he kind of has to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I think that's where they are in whatever story they're telling.
Yeah.
Probably has to be a Miro win on this one.
I agree.
All right. Let's see. Here's another 8-man.
We can skip right on past this one.
Okay,
this was the match we did. That match.
Yeah, you know what? We decided that we're not going to talk about that match because it was a fill-in, and we gave you our opinion on all.
Yes, we did. So that's that about that. Hopefully, that's early on the card as well, or that's your That's your
We
pee
just
break,
don't care.
snack break match. No, I don't care. All right, here we go. Second women's title match on the card tonight is the AEW Women's World Championship. Tony Storm with Luther.
Luther.
With Luther versus Riho. And let's just talk before we go into this. Riho keeps getting these huge pops every single time.
People love the Riho, man.
They do love the Riho, and I love her too. So
I do too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think this will be a lot of fun. I'm so tired of the
I always love the people who are like,
Riho
how
is
does
too
this
small.
98-pound girl do this thing? I'm like, I don't know. You're watching what I'm watching, so
right. I mean, look at what Rey Mysterio has done for how long?
Seriously,
we've seen this.
One of my favorites. He's the best. All right, are you ready for the next one?
Yeah, I guess before we do, yes, I think Tony Storm retains here. I would not be mad if Riho ended up winning. I don't think that's where they're going. I think they're telling this long-term story with Tony. Oh, and real quick before we get into it, or before we move on, Mariah May's first match is coming up on Wednesday, and I was thinking about it the other day. I wonder if if Mariah's first opponent will be Diamante. And the reason I say that is because I was writing about Mariah's match the other night, and I was like, who was Tony's first opponent in AEW? And it was the Bunny. Bunny clearly is no longer in AEW, but then she wrestled on 2 matches later, because there was somebody she wrestled on Dark that was like an independent wrestler. But then on the next match, she was on Dark, but she wrestled Diamante. So I'm curious if perhaps they have her kind of beat some people, because then it was like that's when they got into some of the stuff with Ruby Soho, and there's some Jamie Hayter stuff, and I was like, well, clearly they can't do that right now. So I'm wondering if Diamante is her first opponent, because she was one of Tony's first opponents.
Sorry, I have dog bark in the background.
That's all right. I'm going to go to the comments real quick.
Yes, go ahead.
Tony Storm versus Riho is going to be great. The promo video they released today with Riho speaking Japanese is awesome. Oh, I have not seen that. So I will make sure to check that out, because I bet that sounds awesome. Vinkin says, my heart says Riho should win, but my brain is 100% sure to retain.
I'm going to be with Vinkin on this one.
Hassan said, I wonder what role Mariah May is going to play in this match. It'll be interesting because Tony keeps blowing her off. Like, Tony told her she's too busy to do commentary for her first match. She's too busy to watch her match and give her feedback.
And she didn't know who she was anymore.
Right. So I'm curious to see if she even gets involved at all. But she could, just because, that Tony is her hero. So maybe she does. Lauren says Tony's retaining, but I just want to see an entertaining match that gets 15 to 20 minutes. It's a world title. After all, it should be one of the longest matches on the card. I agree with you. Lauren said, I think Mariah will face Penelope Ford. That's definitely a possibility. I could see her being, if she's not her very first one, I could see her being like one of the ones she builds up to. I could see that, Lauren. Hassan says Yuka Sakazaki has been backstage since last week. I wonder if they're going to use her. I thought she might face Mariah. That would be really great. Yeah, because Yuka we knew she was coming back. And we haven't, so that could be interesting. Or because perhaps if Mariah tries to get involved in this, then maybe Yuka tries to stop her, and so that leads to Yuka versus Mariah May on Wednesday as a possibility. So that could be interesting.
I like it. I'm in. Let's go. Because she's making her debut on Wednesday as Dynamite.
Right. It'll be that. Yeah. First Dynamite of the new year.
All right. So let's see here. Next one. What's this?
Another random 8-man.
Dude,
I'm sorry.
How many
an all-star 8-man?
Okay, an all-star 8-man. Like, here, let me take this down here.
Yeah, it's everybody who was in the Continental Classic gets to be in a match.
So we have 3 8-mans. That's 24-man.
And we have 2. I think it's just 2.
I know this is a tag man.
No, I think it's 2 8-men though, right? Or is it 3?
I think here we go. There is the 20-man, the 8-man,
and then the other 8-man.
the other 8-man. Okay, you're right.
Yeah,
It's just
so-
I got confused. There were
There's
so
many. There's so many mans.
One's a tag and one's an 8-man.
There's so many
regular.
mans and only 4 women on the main card.
So many mans.
And 6 if you count the tag. So many mans. This is clearly also, I think, in response to Kenny Omega. They're trying to get some star power up in here, trying to give people more bang for their buck, as it were.
We didn't know that we were going to lose Kenny to the diverticulitis. Not like lose, but like
right.
You know, it was
he's out
take
indefinitely. He's out indefinitely. So we have. I'm sure this match will be great. I don't know. I assume your team. So the team on the left, which is Claudio Danielson, Mark Briscoe, and Daniel Garcia, will be taking on Brody King, Jay Lethal, Jay White, and Roosh. So I assume the team on the left is probably going to be the ones who win. This will be definitely, can they all coexist?
Yeah.
I guess. Maybe that's what it's for. There's eight men to see if they can coexist. Venkin says, why is Brian on the card? You have Okada on Thursday. I'm assuming because it's an 8-man, he's not going to do a whole lot.
Yeah, I would say that this is the reason that they probably put him in this match specifically because he's wrestling Okada.
And I agree, Venkin, he should take a break.
Yeah.
Take a break, man. I agree, especially because you're going to be flying soon. I'm sure his flight's probably like tomorrow. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm sure Brian's probably gonna be the person who has the least amount. He's gonna do kind of like he did when he wasn't wrestling a few months ago and he was instigating shit. So
someone will like chair shot him and he'll just be out for the whole match.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, it could be something like that.
I mean, I hate to be like that, but here we are.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like, oh, I'm shocked. Here we go.
Okay, this is the match that I'm just going to go ahead and my big bold prediction is this is match of the night.
Yeah.
It's the Continental Classic with Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston. If you will remember back when the Continental Classic started, I said that Eddie Kingston would be in the finals and I've been saying that Eddie Kingston was going to win this whole thing. And I still stand by that. As much as I love Jon Moxley, I think Eddie needs this more. Eddie is the huge AJPW fan. He loves, Kawada, Misawa, all of these people that came before him. He just came home. He had his dream tour in Japan over the summer. And so I think that Eddie wins here, and I think it's going to be really good because obviously there is a lot of history between Moxley and Kingston. We've seen them wrestle before and it was for the title, and obviously Kingston came up short. Moxley made reference to that the other night. That was a really good segment with the two of them. They have a lot of chemistry in the ring. I'm just ready. I expect them to just beat the shit out of each other, and I'm here for it.
Oh, they'll have a great match because they like simultaneously love each other and love wrestling on the same level because they're like besties IRL. So
yes.
They're just going to bring out the absolute best and worst. I worry about these two when they fight each other because there's almost an assured mutual destruction potential for it. Where it's like, don't let them kill each other, please.
Yes. Mox is going to bleed. Yes. And it's funny because
good prediction. Holy crap. You should like put that on DraftKings.
Mox finally was saying in an interview a few weeks ago, he said he has so much scar tissue that it doesn't take much for him to bleed. And so he's like, I don't plan to bleed every match, but he was like, I have scar tissue and it gets hit and sometimes I bleed. So.
Okay. That's your story. Okay. We'll go with that. Sure. It's just easy. It just sort of happens.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think Eddie wins here, and I think that's the right call. I think Eddie should be the one to become the first triple crown champion.
And I mean, why would they put him against Moxley if they weren't going to use him to put him over in this case? Because they don't need Mox doesn't need this belt. This is not.
No.
It's going to be an awesome match, but
yes, I think it's going to be a match of the night.
It seems like it's Eddie's. This is Eddie's thing. Like
yes. Especially because he had the comeback in the tournament, kind of like the G1 story.
Yeah, he was like, he's almost out. Oh my God, he made that. Yeah, I was like, oh, yes. I realized that actually when I was listening to or watching Speaking to Strong Style one day, and I was like, oh, they're right. And then you had said it, and I put it all together, and I was like, that it makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Eddie winning. It's going to be great.
Yep.
I agree. Mox and Brian taking the plane tomorrow. Yeah, probably. All right. So then we have the TNT Championship match between Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. It is a no DQ, which means that I'm sure there's going to be some Nick Wayne involvement, probably some Shayna Wayne involvement. My sister thinks that Beth Phoenix...
I think it's Mother Wayne.
Mother Wayne. My sister thinks Beth Phoenix is going to get involved because Shayna's there. And I think that is definitely a possibility because
is she allowed?
She's not WWE.
Okay.
She doesn't work. She don't work for them.
Yeah, I don't know where she's at right now.
Nope, she doesn't. She's not working she's not wrestling anywhere. She's not she doesn't work for She doesn't work for WWE. Her voice is at the beginning of Adam's theme song.
Yeah, that I knew.
So I definitely can see the potential of Beth being that she could get involved, and especially because of Shayna, Finnegan says she's ratings Adam's kids. Yes. So
I want to hear Excalibur scream the Glamazon. That's really what I want to hear. So
yes, that would be great. I'm really looking forward to this match. Is because I love both of them.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what they do here. Nikki said, I think that's the whole reason of bringing Mother Wayne in. Yes, right. I can see that.
That would make Mother Wayne. That would make Mother Wayne it would make it like tolerable, and you could continue to have a heel Christian, which is awesome because Beth Phoenix knows how to work, so she could help mitigate the Mother Wayne thing. So that would, that'd be cool. I love Beth Phoenix, so I'm down with that.
I do too.
Let's go. I'm all into that.
I'm really looking forward to this. Do you think Adam wins here, or do you think Christian does?
I think that Christian's going to retain still because I think he's still grumpy. I think the patriarchy is still ascending, and I don't know.
I don't think the patriarchy is going to be done regardless. I don't think Christian needs the TNT Championship to tell the story he's telling, because the story is not the title. The story is Christian and who he is. So I think the belt adds to the story, but I think they can get away with telling the story without it. So I kind of go back.
You think this one's going to trade hands tonight? That'd be fun.
I kind of go back and forth, and now that they're doing the TNT, the person who wins the battle royale can cash in anytime, anywhere.
Oh, you're right. That's right, because we did discuss that if one of these guys is in that match and ends up with a chance to challenge for the actual title, then
so that makes me question it a little bit more. However,
Christian is doing awesome work. You could put it on Adam Copeland and have Christian make a play for the big belt, and that would be a lot of fun because, he's he's full heel, but he's the best he's been maybe ever right now.
I agree. And so I think also, however, I guess my one caveat to that will be if it is Jack Perry who wins the battle royal, whether we know it's Jack Perry or he's a devil's henchman and we don't get the reveal until this match, I could see Christian retaining if it is Jack Perry and they want to do that match and have Jack Perry take the title off of him. But I think Adam Copeland needs this title more than Christian does with the story that they're telling.
When you say it, you're probably
I go back and forth. I think Christian, regardless, he can still do the patriarchy. He can still do what he's doing and be incredible at it, and I think he can do it without the title, but I do think the title does kind of add an extra layer. So I go back and forth here. Nikki says, I hope Christian retains. I've seen enough Adam's title reigns. I wouldn't actually be mad at Adam if he won, though. I kind of feel with the story they're telling with Adam kind of has to win the title But
yeah, you're starting to convince me.
so I go. This one is the match that I've gone back and forth with because I can see why they'd have either one win, and so I go back and forth. And perhaps Beth is the factor. Maybe Beth keeps Shayna. You know, she keeps Mother Wayne out of the picture, and that allows Adam Copeland to get the win. You know, so perhaps that's where, and then Christian goes after Beth for causing him to, lose the title. They could do that story if they wanted to.
Yeah.
This is all assuming Beth even shows up.
Yeah, I mean, wildly speculating here, folks. We have no idea.
It was a thought. It was something Nikki brought up, and then we've kind of talked about it, talked about it a little bit, and then so the more I think about it, I was like, well, if Beth shows up, they could do this, but there's a possibility that Beth has nothing to do with this, and she's not involved at all. Past being on Adam
She's just sitting at home doing whatever tonight with the rest of us. All right, what's the main event?
All right, so the main event is AEW World Championship match, MJF versus Samoa Joe. MJF finally no longer has the ROH tag team titles.
Finally.
Which I'm not thrilled at the way they got it off him. I'm just glad he doesn't have it because he did nothing for those titles. In a way, he almost devalued them because they weren't defended. They were only defended twice, and it was under stupid rule. Like, it should have never been defended by himself. He should have never defended it with Samoa Joe. Like, that whole thing is so contrived and so dumb. And then there's tag teams on ROH who kill it week in and week out, who are there every week putting in the work, and they should be the ones fighting for that. They're not even getting opportunities at these titles. I mean, I guess you can make the argument for the Righteous. However, they did that on an AEW pay-per-view. They didn't do it in Honor Club. Max has never once set foot in a ROH ring. Those titles should have been vacated the minute Adam Cole got hurt. So I have a lot to say about that. But yeah, I'm glad the titles are off of MJF. It'll be interesting to see who's under the mask. Obviously, the assumption is that it's the Kingdom. The Kingdom should have taken the titles months ago, and the Kingdom could have been. And I say I don't necessarily like them being on the Kingdom because the Kingdom hasn't been in ROH in months, and I don't know that they'll even defend the titles in Honor Club. And so that's a whole other thing, is who has these titles, and are they going to be in Honor Club defending them, or are you just going to make them defend it against random tag teams on the main roster instead of they need to be back in Ring of Honor.
Yeah, well, they are the Ring of Honor tag team championships. I mean,
you would think
it's on the belt. Just saying,
it's on the belt, but that didn't make MJF go down to.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially when you think about the fact that like AEW regular has the trios belts and the tag team belts, so they don't need to have another set.
Well, and ROH has the 6-man, and they should have their ROH titles defended.
Yeah, they belong. I mean,
they are. There's just teams.
Whatever. There's too many titles in some ways, but really they belong where they should. Like, if there's too many titles in the wrong places.
Right. And like, I don't mind, like, because Eddie has defended the title, but I was like, at least Eddie has defended the title on AEW and Ring of Honor.
Right.
I think that's a whole other conversation that we've had many times. But regardless, well, then now you have also touched on it a little bit after Final Battle. Scorpio Sky is back in the picture.
Yeah,
he and Ethan Page appear to be reforming Men of the Year, have hinted at ROH tag team titles. I am all for Men of the Year having the ROH tag titles, and they will actually defend them.
So they have plenty of people that they can put them on. They just need to put them back where they belong.
Yes. Well, and they need to be wrestling. Like, I mean, there's the Workhorsemen, there's the Infantry, there's Matt Sydal and Christopher Daniels, there's the Outrunners, there's Griff Garrison and Cole Carter. Like, there's these tag teams who are putting in the work all the time on Honor Club, and they're not. And for what? They're not getting title shots out of it. So they need to move these titles back to Honor Club as soon as possible. So I'm just glad to see them off of MJF, but I am concerned that if it is the Kingdom, that they are not going to defend them in Honor Club like they should. Excuse me. So that was my little rant. I had to get that out there.
Okay, I understand. It's totally viable and valid rant.
Yeah. So obviously there's been a lot of complaints about the devil story taking too long, which it has. But I was always under the impression that this is where the reveal would happen because it's MJF's hometown. A lot of people seem to not get that. The whole time I was like, oh, this is the reveal is going to happen at World's End. I believe I've said it on this very podcast that that's where the reveal was going to happen. But regardless, the reveal I believe Tony said on the call that I missed that it will be happening tonight.
Yeah, I think he strongly, what I think I read was he strongly insinuated it was coming to an end.
And I would also like to say, I have been saying Samoa Joe was working with the devil to get the title.
Oh, yeah.
And then what happened on Wednesday? They said, as soon as it popped up and said, it's been a pleasure working with you, I was like, I told you. And then he hit him with the chair. And I was like, again, I told you that that's what was happening here. Samoa Joe was he's in cahoots with the devil to get the title. That's all Joe cares about. He cares so much about this title that he vacated his ROH TV title in the ring and went and said and made his intentions known. So I knew right then and there that he was working with the devil to get the title. And I think that's what happens here. I do think that I just regardless of how it happens, I see Vinkin's ideas, which I will post up here in just a second. I think regardless, Samoa Joe wins the title. And we find out that Adam Cole is the devil and has been the devil all along. And that perhaps some of the henchmen, I've heard the theory that, and I think we've talked about it before, I've heard the theory that some of the henchmen are people who who MJF has screwed over before, which is why, there's been the references to Jack Perry. Some people believe that Wardlow has been because one of the henchmen appears to be appears to be a larger person, and so people have speculated that it's Wardlow, which clearly would make perfect sense because MJF has basically derailed Wardlow's career for the last 2 years because of his actions, and so I think that's possible. But I think regardless, I think Adam Cole is the devil. I am curious because, we've talked about on and off Kyle O'Reilly being involved. I said early on that I thought maybe it was Kyle O'Reilly or he was coming back for the tag titles. Then Kyle O'Reilly has been more open about his health journey. It sounds like maybe he's not cleared to wrestle yet. However, he has said he is getting closer. There were reports a few weeks ago that he's been backstage. So I don't know if he's going to be like an on-screen character for a while. So I think there's always the possibility that Kyle O'Reilly is still involved in this storyline. So it'll be very interesting.
It could still, I mean, just to throw this out here as like another wild speculative, no one said anything about Britt Baker, and then all of a sudden Tony throws in, oh, she's been hurt and taking care of Adam Cole on the scrum, and so the theory that it's her, it still could stand up.
Yeah, I said too that Britt could be Cole and Britt together.
Said that, and then, we've talked about that since the beginning too, and a lot of people some of the other people on our network are just like, it's her. And sometimes it's been a joke, and I think sometimes it's like, I don't know.
I will say when they showed
they're working together.
I think it's yes, I think so too. And because we had when you and I were talking about Britt several months ago, we said that MJF could feud with Cole on Britt's behalf. If Britt is actually the devil, it keeps MJF away from the title, and so he can feud with the devil. And then you're like, well, what if the devil's Britt? Well, then Cole would fight on her behalf, is what our theory was. So Mel and I have been talking about this for a very long time, and we are still.
Well, and there was the time where she was like helpless, and he couldn't do anything, and there was all that stuff that went on. So there's backstory there, and.
So, and she's been she hates them together.
She so much.
They were doing and apparently she hates him in real life. But they were doing this thing where they, they were
a little hard to please.
There was stuff about like when they were doing the video game segments, like she hated it. She hated, and then they went to dinner together, like that whole thing. So there are many reasons for Britt to be involved in the devil, even though we've joked about how when MJF was the devil, people knew it was MJF because of his ass. And
Mhm.
so we joked
Right.
about how they only would show from like the shoulders up. Well, the other day they showed and did not appear that the devil had boobs. So,
Yeah,
however,
but I
it
mean,
could
I
have
can
been
wear a sports bra and
yeah,
twist down my
right. That's
boobs
what I'm saying.
pretty
It
easily.
appeared that way. So, or perhaps it is Britt and she is running
I
everything
mean,
from behind the
you
scenes.
know, just
There,
to keep that out there in the consciousness because it has
yes,
been one of the potential like wild theories. And I mean, there is a like you can make a story out of that and you can bring her back. She wasn't in Pittsburgh, but she could show up to blow up his spot in his hometown.
right.
I mean,
right.
I'm pretty strong on Joe winning this one at this point.
I think he has to win regardless because I think
there's so many reasons that I believe it, and not to say that like MJF doesn't do more in the new year and come back around potentially, but this right now just seems like it has to be Joe.
Well, and I think that's the entire point of the Devil storyline. The whole point was to terrorize MJF and to get the title off of him.
And
I
taking
think
him
I
out in
think
his
that's been the whole
hometown
reason
will
we've
mess
done
him
this.
up.
So
It'll turn him all heel again.
if there's not a title change here, then what was this for?
Yeah.
So I think there has to be a title change. I think Samoa Joe has to win because I think that's been the point is to make him to terrorize MJF to make MJF lose the title. And so I think that's the whole point.
Maybe he'll go like Brocata or whatever afterwards because he loses in his hometown.
He's gonna wear long boys and carry a balloon.
He's gonna turn into like he's gonna go back to being the biggest troll heel ever. Which is good because I like him better because he's less body shamey then.
No, he's body shaming all the time. He's he's very low hanging fruit heel.
Cheap heat.
He's very low hanging fruit heel, which I can't stand.
I don't I just like try harder.
Try harder.
Whatever.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, but it worked, and I guess
so whatever. And I kind of think yesterday. So did you read the MJF article that he did for the Players Tribune yesterday?
Here's me. I read about the hoo-ha afterwards, but I didn't actually read what he wrote. So.
I read the entire article, and it feels to me like I think he confirmed that yes, he did resign with AEW. I think he pretty much
that's like what there's like at least a half dozen of us on this network.
We've been saying it
the whole time. I think that there's
that he resigned
and James too, and Paul, and I think
and Mel and I have said he resigned when he came back.
Yep,
I think
when that whole fiasco went on at Double or Nothing.
There was never a bidding war for 2024. It was just a dumb storyline that ended up kind of backfiring. And then I think he also, I think he kind of confirmed that he's losing. He talked about how he's very tired. He's like, wrestlers aren't supposed to talk about that. Too. And he is injured. He has at least 2 injuries. He has at least 2 injuries that we know of. And you know what? We're 2 days from 2024. We know that wrestlers get injured. We know that
and I mean, it is fair to point out, like, he's had the longest reign of anyone. Yeah.
Right. And I think that it's good that he's talking about being tired because he's like, I know I'm not supposed to say that. Most of us get it. And I think that he should take time off. Please get healthy.
Yes.
All of any of these wrestlers, if Britt Baker needs surgery, then please get surgery. Like we get it. Most of us have been watching long enough that we understand that a wrestler, because these people are putting their bodies on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the company they're working with, sometimes it's 300 days a year. I mean, yes, AEW has a lighter schedule, but still it's a lot, especially when you're a champion and things like that. So he kind of, in that letter, I feel like he kind of confirmed both things, that he resigned, and B, he's hurt and he's dropping the title, which I think he should do. But I'll get to some of the comments here. Vinkin says, best case situation, MJF gets home 1, 2, 3 while the refs knock down and Joe wins. And he said an also important note was that MJF's back was turned. I believe at the chair shot. And he said, "You know what Joe always says, don't turn your back on the most dangerous men in the room." Exactly, Vinkin, and you'd think he'd learn that by now. Daza asks if Regal is still in WWE. Yes, he is still in WWE. He's just not a TV character. He did finally confirm that his son wrestles for WWE, though, because
Yeah, right.
there
He
was the
said
video
he
about Charlie.
announced his debut is what it was, I believe.
Yeah. Don says that he's heard Jeff Jarrett is the devil popping back in to keep that dead meme alive. Well, we appreciate that.
Thank you, Don. We love you.
Vinkins says the fact is that men got through
Jerk
Jay
face.
White is already stupid enough. Yes. And then he said they should completely write MJF off TV. I think that they should as well. This says the right person MJF needs to drop the champion to is Swerve. The man had momentum and support, crowd support. I hear you. Believe me, I do. The thing with Swerve is that is that Tony picks his champions a year in advance. And I think the plan was always Samoa Joe because of the devil storyline that they're telling here. I also probably am not going to make a lot of friends with this, but I don't see Swerve being the world champion next year. The only reason I said, not because he doesn't deserve it, because believe me, I want to be wrong. I want Swerve to be the champion. I think he should be. However, they pick champions a year in advance. Swerve didn't start getting really, really hot until a few months ago. I think that Swerve will take the international title off of Orange Cassidy at Revolution, and I think that he will hold it until Wembley when he wrestles Hangman for Swerve Hangman 3. And that's my prediction. And then I think Swerve wins the big title in 2025. Do I think that's necessarily the right thing? Not necessarily. But Tony does not tend to pivot when people are injured. We saw that's why Jade held the title for 500 days because he was waiting on Statlander to come back. In certain situations, the Acclaimed winning was an outlier. He typically does not go with what the crowd says as far as that type of stuff goes. He's the only reason Jon Moxley was the champion last year is because CM Punk got hurt. He had to, when Thunder Rosa was hurt, she was Tony was interim champion for a while because he does not pivot from his champions. It's very rare that he does.
He's not good at pivoting, period.
Right.
That is one of Tony's biggest, in my opinion, biggest things is that he does not adapt to, and he's working in a business that's constantly changing and people are constantly getting hurt and he does not adjust well.
And then the the international championship, that only was because Phoenix got hurt, so they had to put it on Moxley. And then they put it back on Phoenix, and
let's
Phoenix
be
got
real,
hurt again.
That was Moxley being a heads up wrestler saying it wouldn't have been right if I had done it this way. So I mean, Moxley made that call, not Tony.
Right. Yes, exactly. So I do think it's a positive sign that Swerve is going to the Jags games.
I knew it.
And he's doing these things with the Jags. He's doing like this. So I do think those are positive signs. Because of how Tony has booked things the last 5 years, and there's the rumor, that's some of the rumors that have been going around prior to Swerve getting hot with what the plan is. You got to remember Will Ospreay is coming in.
Yep.
In a few months, and Will Ospreay is going to be in that title picture pretty much immediately.
It has to be for what they probably paid him.
So my guess is Swerve gets perhaps it's the TNT championship. I think I think they could do that. But remember earlier this year, Swerve almost beat Orange Cassidy to become the international championship, and people really thought he was going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And people were upset that he didn't. So I could see them getting I could see Swerve getting a rematch at Revolution and win the title then, and then hold on to that title at least through Wembley. I mean, perhaps maybe he goes 3 for 3 against Hangman. Maybe he gets that match. But I could see the Wembley. I think that match happens at Wembley, especially as soon as Swerve said it. I was like, oh, I think that's where they're going, and I think there will be a title on the line here, and I think. That's my thought, just because of how Tony does things. Do I think that's correct? Probably not. Swerve is very hot, and I think Swerve would be an amazing champion. I just think I'm just trying to prepare myself so that I don't get mad.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
I'm trying to prove. That's what I was telling some people, because I was talking to some people about this in the Slack the other day, and they were like, well, and I was like, listen, I'm just trying not to get my hopes up because I know how this operates, and I'm not making myself mad.
Yeah, right. Nope, I hear you. Sorry,
So,
my dog is being really funny.
no, that's
beside me.
okay. Yes. So, yeah. So, do you have any thoughts that you want to add about the main event?
No, I mean, it's, to me, it is kind of an foregone. I've almost, like, my brain for some reason has just, like, had Joe in this for a certain period, like maybe the last 2 months or so. I felt like it doesn't make any sense otherwise.
Right.
I mean,
especially
I could
because
be totally
Joe vacated the
wrong,
title. Well, and you have to think, Joe vacated the title he vacated the TV championship he didn't put it on anybody. Like, he didn't lose to Keith Lee. He didn't lose and then they had to have a match. They did the survival of the fittest match at Final Battle, which was really great. And they put it out, and Kyle Fletcher is now the champion, which I don't have an issue with. But if for all of that, then, like, if Samoa Joe doesn't win tonight, then what the hell was the point of that?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense otherwise.
So, which match are you most looking forward to tonight?
I think I'm gonna go with the Christian Cage, Adam Copeland one, just because I want to see what they can do with that, and I want to see if they're gonna be able to, if I am gonna be able to get behind them in AEW going forward, and what that's gonna look like. Because they're obviously telling the story where they're gonna end up, hopefully, obviously, back together again. So what do they do with this? What do they do with this match?
Right.
Obviously, the main event's really good. I think it's a little unfair that Moxley Eddie Kingston match is going to tear the house down, probably. Yes. But I think that, I'm just because I'm just really interested in that storyline.
Yeah.
That's one of the more pervasive. I mean, it's kind of one of the main storylines that is on
it is
regularly. So
right. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, and I definitely think the match I'm looking forward mostly is obviously Eddie Kingston versus Jon Moxley. I think it will be match of the night. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm very curious to see if anybody shows up or returns, and I think it kind of depends. That, the 20-man battle royale, now that we've talked about it, I'm much more interested in, because I want to know how that's going to play out and who comes. And if that's a situation where a Nick Nemeth comes in, or a Jack Perry returns, or if they're in the Devil's outfit and we don't know who they are till later on in the show. I'm curious to see how some of that plays out. Maybe we have, like we talked about the women's match, maybe this is where Yuka Sakazaki comes back. She comes to help Riho if Mariah May gets involved. So I think could be some cool stuff like that. Curvin says, I hope by 2024, Tony Khan cares about AEW Women's Division's strong storyline and not random matches. Curvin, I hope a lot of things for the women's division. But I am always cautiously optimistic with certain things. I did hear the other day that he claims he's going to be very active in the free agency for the women's division. I'll believe it when I see it. And then he danced around. He was asked about a woman's C2, and he basically said no without saying no. So, always cautiously optimistic. But we do have Yuka coming back, and Megan Bain will eventually be here at some point. Perhaps Mercedes is coming through, because Mercedes and WWE's talks apparently fell apart. So there's always that. There's Deanna. Perhaps he's not involved at all, and maybe he invests in some of the women he does have. So we'll talk about that next week with our best 2023 and our hopes for 2024, because we talked about that before.
That next week.
Eddie says Adam Copeland gonna win and promote the title on his Disney show.
All right, that works.
There we go. Get some synergy going. Venkin says Adam doesn't appear on the Disney show till episode 5. Oh, well, we'll see. LaRon says TK doesn't seem interested in doing a women's C2. He implied that wasn't their strength. Yes, that's what
that's what I took from it too.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, we'll save that thought for next week because we'll get into the.
We can get into there.
We did because this year we did our hopes for 2023. So next year we will do the hopes for 2024.
We'll see how we did, and we'll see what we've got for the future.
Eddie, we will not have a show tomorrow since we are doing our pre-show now. There will be a post show of the Boom following the pay-per-view tonight. Kevin and James will be on afterwards. We'll be back at our normal time next Sunday at 1:00. And so we're gonna do our kind of best of 2023 type of stuff, what we hope for in 2024, and some Wrestle Kingdom Fallout stuff. And so that's the plan for next week. Yeah. And then the week after is episode 100.
I know. Can you believe it? I can't believe it.
I can't.
And we'll decide. We have a plan for that episode when we get to it. So we'll fill you guys in when we get closer than that.
Thank you, Eddie. He said we deserve a break. Thank you. Yes, my throat
my
throat is gonna need a break shortly. So it's probably
Sam needs to take. She needs to go get some more throat.
It's time to take some more medicine. It's actually I was supposed to take some 30 minutes ago. So
that's okay. My dog needs to take his medicine too.
Vinkin says, I think Strong Style is Thursday after Wrestle Kingdom. Yes, I believe so.
That's right. They are doing a post Wrestle Kingdom react show. I think I even saw it set up in the thingy. So
yes. Vinkin, thank you. Vinkin, thank you for reminding us.
So right down there, guys, Fight Game Media YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. You'll get all this stuff. If you hit the little ringy dingy, it'll tell you.
Yeah, because there'll be the Boom tonight, then the Dynamite show on Wednesday, which will be obviously, so that'll have some fallout from tonight on that as well, I'm sure. And then Wrestle Kingdom is Thursday. Then speaking of Strong Style will be on after Wrestle Kingdom. Then there's New Year Dash on Friday. And then we'll be back on Sunday. So there's going to be a lot going on in this network. And so make sure that you're subscribed. And he said, Daza said, will there be fireworks for 100? You'll have to tune in and find out. Maybe we got some
it's Michigan.
There's probably money.
Yeah, right. We don't. Hey, you got to super chat us more money if you want to snap Cody's fire money. See how I did that there? That's what you're saying.
There we go.
That's the shameless begging for money.
Maybe we'll get some.
Well, if you super chat me like $2, I might be able to buy some fireworks. It's Michigan. I might be able to find.
Listen, there were people shooting off fireworks on Christmas Eve. I heard them, then I saw them. And also my dad is a veteran with PTSD. So that did not go well for with him. It definitely triggered him, and he was
New Year's Eve will be
and then I was going to say, when I was at Target, when I was shopping the day before Christmas Eve, there were fireworks at Target, and then I saw them again when I was there a few days ago. So so there's that. But yes, so thank you.
I'm the Michigan on New Year's Eve. There's like fireworks and gunshots and all kinds of crazy.
Yeah, there's
your dad would not want to be here.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be fireworks tomorrow night and and probably on Monday with that as well. So yeah, but we will be back next Sunday. Thank you guys for hanging with us.
Yes,
we appreciate it. Sorry again if my voice was driving you insane.
Just so you know, you sounded pretty darn good. So
thanks.
All right.
But thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Thank you as always, and have a very, very, very happy New Year. And and we'll see you in 2024.